we can go ahead and get started. Does that sound okay, Ming Chen?
Yeah,
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, and I'm gonna kind of lean on you really heavily with all of the sort of logistics part of it, of being the host, because I can't talk and look and everything at the same time, if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, great. So I'm gonna call to order our very first Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee meeting. Yay! So excited to see everyone here today. I just want everyone to know that, this is a public meeting. We do have folks who have joined us today who are not part of the meeting, the part of the general public, that's totally fine. And we also have Westford Cat who contacted us earlier today, and they're gonna be recording our meeting. So just to let everyone know, that's kind of how we're gonna be. And if you're not talking, please put yourself on mute so then we can kind of hear each other. That's just sort of, you probably already know that already from being part of all of these virtual meetings. But hopefully everyone has a copy of the agenda and I can pull it up. Can everyone see that? Yeah, okay. So I just wanted to pull it up so everyone sees what we're going over today. We're going to start out with a round of introductions. We're just going to go through the entire committee, just maybe a little bit about your name, how long you've lived in Westford, and what is the one thing that you're most excited about the DEI committee. Since we have so many people, I don't think we want to hear, we can't hear too much, and I might have to cut you off or something, but we're really excited to hear from everybody. Okay, and then going in after the introductions, we'll do a summary. I'll go over a summary or review of the interest areas that everyone submitted in terms of their applications to be part of the committee. We did sort of a summary list of that. I wanted to review that with you all. We'll also talk about our review of the mission in charge of the group, discuss potential subcommittee areas and just the structure of the committee going forward, and then talk about our meeting schedule. So I'm going to stop sharing though, just so that we can go back to seeing each other. Okay, and I'll start out with myself. My name is Anita Ton Karng Nguyen. I am the select board liaison to the committee, and I'm really most excited to just start this committee and have it up and going. I feel that, I'm sorry, I told people not to go off, and I'm just gonna do this for 1 second. Just that, I assume that people have been really engaged in the news over the past 24 hours. And I just wanted to say that regardless of the national outcomes, that this group is really focused today on Westford and our community, what's happening in our town. And I really am inspired and energized by everyone who's volunteered to step up and be part of this committee. And we have so many new people who have never been on a town committee before. And I am just so happy that you have stepped up and want to be part of this and part of this conversation. And there's a lot of work to do here, but I know that we can do it. I'm just so excited to see all these new faces. Everyone's voice is important and has value. We can all learn from each other. I'm looking forward to learning from you, your personal and professional experiences. Everyone, I hope, feels comfortable in speaking up. Okay, that's it. But I think maybe we could go, Ming Chen, do you mind going next?
Yes, sure. My name is Ming Chen, so I'm the school committee liaison on the DEI committee. I'm really excited to actually to be able to join with this group of people. This shows really the interest and then the diversity of this town. Just look at the faces, look at so many people. Westford has been actually growing and then changing for the last 20 years. And then really, I'm very excited that this is a platform which a lot of stakeholders from different communities, from different cultural and ethnic groups to be able to come and contribute. We haven't done a good job to actually to have much diversity in our town boards. So I think this is a good start. Jody, do you want to go next?
Sure. So I'm Jody Ross. I'm the town manager. I know a few of you. I am a resident too. I've been in Westford as town manager since 2008 and moved here in 2010. So very excited to assist your committee. And I'm here to help in any way I can. Thank you.
Great. And I was thinking maybe we could go down in alphabetical order by first name. Does that sound all right? So we'll start with Anjali.
Hi, my name is Anjali Rashford. I'm an HR professional, and I've been working in human resources for almost 15 years or so. Diversity and inclusion is one of the initiatives I'm involved in the corporate level in my organization for pretty much 10 years or so. I'm very excited. I'm a new member in the team here, so I'm very excited what we all come up with as a plan for the town, and then looking forward to the developments in the future. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Corinne?
Hi, my name is Kun Luo. Have been in Westford since 2004. I'm a software engineer, and I think like most exciting moment is this is the first time I volunteer for the Westford town. So I'm looking forward to work with everybody on this. Thank you.
Thanks. Corinne?
Hi, everyone. My name is Corinne Badenhoff. I am a senior corporate trainer, so diversity, equity, and inclusion is one of my fortes where I work. Also, if we have any trouble in this environment, I'm a virtual trainer, so please let me know. Zoom is my environment, so I'm really excited about this because I am currently on the Westford Special Education, Westford CPAC, so Special Education Parent Advisory Council, is their secretary. So diversity, equity, and inclusion is a hot topic for us, and we're hoping to work seamlessly with the rest of you. So anything we can do to help, I'm very excited about this. I'm so super excited right now.
Great. Derrick?
Hi, everyone. My name is Derrick Lowe. I'm a junior at George University in Washington, D.C. I grew up here in Westford. I was class of 2018, so just haven't been out of Westford too long. And I guess for me, I'm really excited most about working to improve the diversity within our schools and bringing that connection back to the broader community. Thank you. Excited to work with everyone.
Is Eleonora here? Oh, yeah.
Hi everybody, I'm Eleonora. I am a yoga teacher, first time in a committee, and I am very excited to work for the Diversity and Equity Committee, and hopefully will bring some positive news in town. Thank you everybody.
Eric?
Good evening, everyone. I'm Eric Barber Mingo. I've been in Westford for 20 years. The reason why I'm really excited about this committee is it's my first foray into town government. It's long waiting, and the mission of the DEI committee is something that's so timely and appropriate. And I'm very happy to see that Westford is moving on it, and I'm just excited to be a part of it. So hello, everyone, and let's go.
Henning? Did I pronounce that correctly? Henning?
Yes, sometimes some people call me Honey, so I say that's wrong. I'm not Honey, I'm Henning. So I'm kind of new to the town. Just 2 years, I moved down here from New Hampshire. I lived in New Hampshire for like 20 years. So I try to stay away from the power outages up there. And I just have another one tonight in Westford. So my background is working for a medical company. So also I help out in the local school, Chinese language school. So I'm so excited to be part of the community. So to do any contribution, whatever, any way we could. And I'm so excited to have more meetings to fill one of my another light. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a busy group. Jenny?
Hi, I'm Jenny Junley Kravitz, and I have been living in Westford for 10 years. I have been working in the schools here for more than 5 years. I don't know exactly. Time is just blending together. And I'm excited for this because I have done some DEI work in the schools. I also do DEI work in higher education. And I think there's a lot to do in town, and I'm excited at how many people are here to engage in that work. And, you know, like my buddy Eric said, let's get started. Let's do it.
Okay. Joaquin? Did I say that right?
Yes, yeah, that's me, Joaquin. Joaquin Gargolov. I've been living here in Westford for 11 years. I'm an engineer, and I don't have any experience working with the government. This is my first time participating, but I come from Argentina, so I'm looking forward to represent the Hispanic community. Thank you very much.
Great. Joe?
Good evening. Thank you. And thanks for inviting me to this committee. I'm really thrilled to be here. We've been in Westford for 27 years and have been involved with different town boards. We started a temple here, and my work is with, I run a nonprofit that supports many anti-poverty agencies across the state of Massachusetts. And of course, we know that that racism and inequity are drivers of poverty. So it's really good to be here on this committee because I know it's an opportunity to give back to Westford, to a community that's been so good to us, and also an opportunity to do some good. So thank you for this opportunity.
Jonathan?
Hi, I'm Jonathan. I'm the one Chelmsford resident, so that's me. I'm the pastor of Cornerstone Congregational Church here in Westford, and we've been discussing diversity this fall and kind of just diving deep into this topic. And so I'm excited to listen and to learn. It seems like there's a lot of great perspectives here, and I think that's what makes me most excited, and take back what I'm learning to the families of our church, many of which are from Westford. So it's kind of my cross point there.
June Wei?
Hi everyone.
Did I say that right?
Yeah, my name is Jun Wei Huan. Sorry, I have a bubble fly, my kid. So my name is Jun Wei Huan. I moved in Westford since 2014. I have two young kids, one in kindergarten and one in grade 4. I'm currently a software engineer, and my routine work is about data analysis and visualization. And also I'm working for my church for the whole website and network. So I'm inspired, by Mintran and all my neighbors. They're very, they all contribute to the local communities. So I'm happy that I could be involved in this this job, here, and I'd like, to contribute myself to this community as well. Yeah.
Great, thank you. Lawrence?
Hello, I'm Lawrence Bentley. I've been living in Westford for 6 years. I was laid off from my job in December. I was in information technology, so I'll probably end up being retired in August of 2021. I previously worked in diversity groups at the Old South Church of Boston, the First Unitarian Church of Littleton, the Kids of Birmingham, 1963. That's Birmingham, Alabama. And the Veterans of the Mississippi Civil Rights Movement in Jackson, Mississippi as well. And I'm really looking forward to doing something here in my hometown.
Great. Madonna? Hope you're on mute. No, we can't hear you.
Madonna, try hitting the space
Oh,
bar.
I did.
Oh, there you go.
Okay.
Yeah, Corinne.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, I'm muted.
I've lived in Westford for over 46 years. And I was on the school committee back in the 60s, and I was on in the 70s actually, and I was on for 6 years, and I was also a selectman for 6 years. I was also the first interim town manager, female interim town manager, and that for 9 months only. And I was also, I worked in both Carlisle and Dunstable as town administrator. I also I was on the board of Community Teamwork Incorporated, which if you don't know about, is a community organization in Lowell that provides all sorts of different benefits for people within Westford. And they apply for them and they get them, and it goes into all areas. In my time, I've also been trained to work for diversity, and also in working with towns, and where I was with the employees of towns, and making them aware of what the law is and what their responsibilities are, and how they should be participating. When I heard somebody say that things have changed remarkably in the last years, I'm thinking, yeah, they've changed a lot in 46 years. We didn't have any stoplights in town at the time. We didn't have any of that. And I was part of the computer advisory committee that brought computers into the school system. And I was the first probably volunteer to help children in the elementary school learn how to use a computer, and help the teachers learn how to use it as well. So I've been around for a very long time, and I've seen a lot of changes in town. And unfortunately, I have not been thrilled with a lot of the changes that have happened most recently. And I'm hoping that we can help make things a lot better for everybody here. Thank you.
Mamata?
Hi, my name is Mamata, and I've been in Westford for pretty much 15 years now. My kids have gone to the elementary school, middle school, high school here, grown up here pretty much. I've been in a corporate world for a long time. As a program manager, I've managed many projects for the corporate, and one of the projects I managed is the DEI committee. A company started this with just women in focus at that time, but then started expanding to every diversity, culture, inclusion into the committee, and started developing programs, lunch sessions and things like that. So I come with the interest to help with the community here, to bring in that diversity consciousness to the people, educate them as much as they I'm sure many do not know about this, but educate them and bring in that change that we look for. And thank you for having me.
I don't see Maida on the list, but I just want to make sure I'm not missing like a dial in or anything. Is that right? No? Okay. Maybe she'll join us later. She's a college student still. But she grew up in Westford. So hopefully we'll hear from her at our next meeting. Nancy?
Hi, I'm Nancy Cook. I've been in Westford all my life, all 66 years. I'm third generation Westford Academy, and my grandbabies are 5 generations through Westford Academy. I'm on several committees in town. I manage day-to-day operation of an oil company. In my quiet time, I work diligently for suicide awareness and mental health awareness, both in high schoolers and in veterans. So we're a super diverse town. We were born as a diverse town from all different countries, and it's wonderful to see all these faces. Some of you have been here so long, and we haven't seen you before. So it's great to be part of a committee that works towards getting everybody together.
Thanks. Omar?
Thank you, Anita. My name is Omar Lorino. My pronouns are he, him, his. I was born in Italy. I came here to the US 10 years ago. And 2 years ago, we decided to move here to Westford. We bought a house. We have 3 American kids, 2 of which are now in the school system in Westford. And we wanted to we really searched carefully for a community where we could like and be part of, and that would be diverse. And I think we found it in Westford. And back in Italy, I was always active with especially things about racial justice, immigration, and now, ironically, I'm the immigrant in the US. And I've been started working in the Lowell area with an organization that has the goal to end gender-based violence. And I'm also serving in Westford on the Town and School Safety Task Force. And I'm really excited and inspired by all the diversity of this committee. And I hope, and I'm sure we will do a great job.
Great. Pat or Patricia?
Hi, my name's Pat Rapucci, and I was an immigrant child. I came to the US at 12 and I was born in London, landed in Cambridge, and as a very young parent moved to Westford. I thought I was in the middle of nowhere. So it's been a huge change. We've been here for 46 years, and I've raised my 3 kids in town. I retired as an HR business partner for a division of Cardinal Health, and I was fortunate in my HR career with a startup putting in place all of the things that we see now for diversity, equity, particularly in hiring. And that was an area I had a lot of input into. So I was very excited to see this committee because I'd like to bring those skills, but I'm also part of the Disability Commission. I'm a volunteer for the Cameron Senior Center, for TRED with Nancy, Tax Relief for the Elderly and Disabled. I belong to the Westford Coalition for Nonviolence. That's domestic abuse, and probably a whole bunch of other things that I didn't put on my list. But this is very exciting to me to see the changes that have gone on in Westford. I'm the parent of a gay child, a disabled child, so all of this plays into my background. So thank you so much for having me.
We moved here in 1988, and we raised our 3 children here, and one still lives here, is working at Minuteman Arc. I was very excited about this committee, the forming of this committee, and wanted to see if I could add anything to it. And I realize it's a big committee, but I think maybe if we split up and do some stuff, I can be a help. Thank you.
Seema?
Hi, my name is Seema Pusalkar, and I've been living in Westford for just over 10 years. And I'm really, really excited to see this committee start and go. I remember having conversations with Anita about it a few months ago, so it's really gratifying to see that it actually has come to fruition. I have 3 children, a sophomore in the high school, a 6th grader at Stony Brook School, and a college graduate. He graduated this year from UMass Lowell. I currently serve on the Westford Cultural Council with Anita. I'm also part of the School Advisory Council at Stony Brook Middle School and part of the PTO at Stony Brook Middle School. So I am really, really excited to be part of this group and hope that we can bring about some of the changes that I know a lot of us are looking for in the town in terms of bringing in more diversity, equity, and inclusion. So that's it from me.
Okay, and Yibing, did I say that right? You're going to round us out. Nope, you're still on mute. Sorry.
Oh, okay, good. My name is Yibing Lee. I have been living in Westford for 6 years. I'm an education researcher. My work focuses on evaluation and research of school-based programs in K-12 settings. And my son also goes to Westford Public Schools. I'm most excited to dive into the DEI issues that may be relevant in our schools. Obviously, it's a very large committee. I'm glad that we're able to finish the introduction in 30 minutes.
Great. That's awesome. You guys are making us look good. We've got 3 minutes in terms of being early. Okay, but I'm gonna share my screen again and pull up our next agenda item, which is the summary of the interest areas. So there were several documents that we posted today, late afternoon, or sometime today, that we're going to go over during today's meeting. And I hope it doesn't stress anyone out, because I don't really expect anyone to have really gone through a lot of this information, definitely at least not in depth. And a lot of the information that we're sharing is really sort of just kind of background stuff for, I feel like, the committee's work in the future. But something that I thought would be helpful for people to see is just kind of at a high level, some of the interest areas that were identified in your application. So everyone had to talk about like a little bit about their experiences and like interest areas, like your 2 to 3 top concerns. And these were the ones that I felt like went through a couple of different applications. The wording might not be exactly how you worded it in your particular application, but hopefully it kind of gets to the spirit of what you're saying. And this is only a draft, so this could very much change as the committee kind of takes this on and wants to do something with it. But there are 2 things that I wanted to kind of highlight, and we're going to come back to this document later in the meeting, and 2 threads that kind of went across both the town and the school. What came down to hiring practices and just hiring in general, like diversity, diverse workforces. Those were 2. That's one topic area that hits 2 of the town and school areas, as well as overall like dialogue, communication, education, right? That kind of bigger piece of lack of awareness or a need for more, or having an opportunity for more education and conversation. So I just wanted to highlight those 2 threads that I saw that went across the town and the school, but again, we're going to come back to this document. Are there any initial reactions or thoughts or questions?
Maybe one question is, do we have access to this document? I don't remember if I don't think I saw it before.
Yeah, so I'll go over that too, because I do want to make sure you have access to everything. It was an email that I sent like late today, Joaquin, so I'll bring it up for you.
Okay.
Anita, I like to say this is a good list that you have here, and I think these are all important topics for everyone to be interested and bring in the change in this community.
Great, and I am going to pull up just where you can find all of the documents, and that includes the full application packet that all of the committee members submitted. So if you wanted to go back and take a look at what other people wrote a little bit more in depth, because there was a lot of really great information there about background and interest areas and why people are interested in certain areas, to just give you this like a larger picture and stuff like that, please, I definitely welcome you to do that, and that will be available to you too. And if see like chats coming in, if at any time Ming Chen, oh great, you already posted. I can't handle like the chat and the facilitating at the same time.
And by the way, Anita and Ming John, thank you so much for all the work you put into this and to to really start the committee work off. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay, well, I guess I'll move on to sort of the mission and the review of our charge. So going back to this website, which is basically the web page for the DEI committee. And that was in my first email from the other day, but I resent it again today because Samantha Gray, who works with Jody, helped us build these links onto our web page so that we can actually access the agenda, which is tonight's agenda that I pulled up, the other meeting documents, which is the materials that we're going over today, and then meeting minutes that we'll eventually have. So at some point, maybe the next meeting we'll elect officers, and that includes a secretary who will need to take meeting minutes, and then like the committee will vote on the meeting minutes and stuff like that. So Ming Chen and I are only going to really be talking during this meeting, maybe the like part of the next meeting, until we get to officers, and then Ming Chen and I are going to kind of be more of, we're just going to sit and help be supportive in any way that we can, but we're not going to drive the meetings after this. But here you'll see like our full list of the committee, and the charge here is really that the committee is going to be an advisory committee to the town, to the select board, and to the school committee. We want to see the committee help us identify the needs around fostering acceptance, full inclusion, hitting all of these different areas of diversity, and also take a look at our town policies and procedures, make recommendations to advance equity, and identify deficiencies or where there might be inequities. And this would really be in collaboration with, me and Ming Chen, or in our committees in general, as well as Jody, the town manager's office, and the, I want to say Ming Chen, like the Westford Public Schools, but there is also a WPS DEI team that there was a one-pager that I was going to put up and I forgot to put it together, but basically there's 4 areas that the DEI team, which is specific to the schools only, that we're going to be kind of working in partnership with. So our committee charge is a little bit more overarching. We have we're just a little bit more bigger picture, but the DEI team under the school system is much more specific to like anti-bias training, is it a civic rights complaint system, Ming Chen, and there's 2 other things that I can't remember off the top of my head, but we'll make sure that there's constant or regular communication between our committee and that team to make sure that we're not duplicating efforts, for example, and that we're able to inform each other. If there's something that we could do that would benefit them, we'd want to share it with them, and vice versa. So this last bullet here, or this last sentence, says that we would report on progress by the end of 2020. And I know that that's like, feels like tomorrow, right? It's like 2 months away. So I think during our joint select board and school committee meeting, we talked about extending that timeline in terms of progress, but I can go back and check with the select board and school committee to make sure that everyone else is comfortable with that, because I feel like this committee probably won't have much to, or maybe will, I don't know, won't have much to report out by the end of the year. Any questions or anything? I can't see hands. Oh yeah, okay, Omar.
Thank you. I wonder how other people feel about the charge where it says that it's focused on any characteristics protected by law, because that's certainly a big part of it. The town doesn't want to get sued because of discriminatory policies or practices, and that's certainly part of it. But inclusion and equity covers a lot more that is not necessarily protected by law, but as a community, we might think that it's important. And I'm not sure whether it's only me feeling the need to clarify whether our scope is so narrow, focused on the law, or whether it's a little bit more broad in this sense.
Maybe, Omar, do you have an example for something that you would like to include that is not something that is already protected by the law?
Not necessarily in the charge, but it might be something that comes up, and if it's felt that it's not covered by the charge, it might be a problem.
I imagine that that was included as a framework and maybe not meant to be exclusive. We could add language that says including but not limited to. I don't know if Anita, you were involved in the drafting, but I think that it's probably a reasonable approach to include that phrase, those statuses protected by law, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's only.
Yeah, and let Ming Chen weigh in as well. And this is the charge that's been approved and voted on by the select board and school committee. So if the DEI committee wants to come back and to the to our two boards and kind of say, we'd like to be more expansive than this, then I don't think that's any, we're not going to stop you from coming to us to say that. But right now, this is just what it is. But you can totally, expand it if you want to.
I agree. I think this is the starting point, and then really it's up to this committee to actually to decide, and then to come back, and then I think definitely select board and school committee would like to actually hear from this committee.
And I certainly echo what Joe said. Just reading the language as it is, it doesn't strike me as exclusive at all. It's more, this is explaining examples of what we're doing, but it doesn't prevent us from handling anything that's in the same spirit as what's in that paragraph. So I don't see any problem with the particular language myself.
Yeah, I don't see it either. I see it as just kind of helping us understand what the groups are. And so I don't think it restricts us from in any way including anything else. So
I think it says that it discourages prejudice and discrimination against any person, group, or any other status protected by law. But I don't think it limits it to status protected by law.
yes, yeah, that's what my understanding of the language is.
Well, I can't see everybody since I'm sharing my screen, but if there's anyone that I'm missing, I'm sorry in terms of wanting to comment, but I'm going to move on sort of to the next area that I wanted to just bring to your attention under this sort of mission and charge agenda item. So we are a public body, we are a town committee. You are now officially part of town government. And I'm so, again, excited just how everyone else has been saying that we have so many new faces, new people who are lending their voice and expertise professionally and personally to this topic area. So, but being a public town body, there are rules that we need to follow. So for example, all of our meetings are public, and there's open meeting law, which you should have received information about it. Sorry, I have so many tabs open. This is like one of those times where your brain has like 20 tabs. So to get to this page, which is something you might already be familiar with, because this is how maybe you got to the citizen activity form to fill out your application to be part of this committee. If you go to the regular Westford town website, you go under residents and then volunteering. That's how you get to this page. But what I wanted to bring to your attention on this page is the open meeting law link here. So it talks a lot about, goes into really great detail for this. I'll click on the link about just information about what is open meeting law, how does that impact us, what is okay or not okay in terms of serving on our town committee, and what our meetings how they can run, right? And there's this live training sign up that people could be, that you can sign up for. It seems to run every couple of weeks. And so if you have more questions, need some sort of online support or live support from the state about open meeting law, I encourage you to sign up for it. And then, let us know how it goes. And if there's any information that you can share back with us, that would be great. And kind of on that same spirit, we can't meet and not have it be a public meeting. Okay, there's two pieces. One, you need quorum to have our meeting. So if there's like 11 of us who can meet on one day, we can't officially have a meeting, or we can't have a meeting at all. And it's only when you hit quorum, which is 12 people, that's when we can have a DEI committee meeting. And so, sort of related to that, if 12 of us are just happening to hang out together, we can't talk about anything related to the DEI committee. And so I wanted to just let people know that, because it is kind of a weird thing, because we are all being connected here, but you know, we can't talk about it outside of this. Eric, I see your hand.
And I wanted to volunteer this as well. Way back when I first moved to Westford back in 2000, at that time I was an assistant district attorney in Middlesex County. I was on the open meeting law team of that office. At the time, the district attorneys, as opposed to the attorney general, kind of monitored open meeting law. So I'm volunteering my services as a contact with regard to open meeting law questions. It's a little bit dusty and rusty because it's been 20 years, but I've been into the nuts and bolts of what open meeting law means and what we're supposed to do and so forth. So hopefully I can help as a resource.
That's great, because I know I always have questions starting. Just trying to go through the list of cameras. Anyone else have questions about open meeting law?
I had a question about it. So when I've been on just like church committees, it helps when you get to know each other. And so in kind of honoring open meeting laws, are we allowed to kind of like get coffee or go for a walk with each other, just as long as we don't talk about DEI stuff? Just want to understand kind of from the beginning.
My gut reaction is yes, Eric.
Yes, and Anita did mention the focus. The real focus of the law is when we're actually functioning as a group, that has to be public. Two of us having coffee, that's not a quorum, so we're not functioning as a group. So two of us having coffee, we could talk about whatever we like, but whenever that quorum is reached, at one period of time with all of us gathering and we're actually doing committee business, that's when it kicks in. It has to be public. Anything you say and do, anything that we actually do to make the committee function has to be open. That's it in summary. So don't worry about having coffee with a couple of us.
Thanks. That's helpful.
Or like 8 of us.
Yeah. Or 11.
Right. Just don't hit that quorum. Then a lot of stuff kicks in.
Okay, so I'm going to share a couple of other items that we posted onto the meeting packet list too. And one of that is just a really high level org chart of the different elected boards in town, right? So we have, and this is in alphabetical order. This is not in any kind of like particular order here, but there's Board of Health, Board of Selectmen, Board of Library Trustees, Planning Board, and School Committee. So our focus areas are the ones highlighted in dark blue: Board of Selectmen and School Committee. That's where who you're advising. And just so you know that the town manager reports to the Board of Selectmen, and the Westford Public Schools and like superintendent reports to the School Committee. So that's just there for your information, kind of as some background. And if you want to know, if you want to go down a layer deep, here are all of the town departments that report to Jody Ross, our town manager. So this is more just, again, for your information, so you can kind of see how things relate to one another, who reports to who are kind of key department leads are, chief, or, you know, department heads and stuff, and just high level information for you all. Are there any questions or anything so far? A lot of people might already know this.
Anita?
Yep.
It's Jody. So just to clarify on the prior org chart, so even though the health director and the library director do not report to me, the director of land use does, but the health director and library director don't. They report directly to their elected boards, but they work in conjunction with me and my departments. So they try to follow the policies that we enact and all that. So even though they're not under me, you know, they would respect the rules or policies or procedures that, you know, we determine are appropriate.
Thanks, Jody. And I think we're going to provide for you an equivalent org chart for the school side. We just weren't able to get that in time for today's meeting, but that's something that we're going to have for you as well, so you'll have that. And also included in the meeting packet is something that Ming Chen and I asked Jody to help us with, and this is lists out, it's not inclusive, but it's a really good starting place in terms of what services are provided by across both the town and school side of our town government. So, because I think as like a normal resident, until I got involved in town government, I didn't realize how separate these entities were. So, kind of going through this list, which you can go during your own time and stuff later, just trying to understand how they work together, what's shared and what's not. I think it's kind of helpful to know or be familiar with as we're reviewing policies and procedures across both the town and school side. But, if we have any questions, we can always go back and ask Jody to help us with some clarification. Any questions? Nancy? Did you have a question, Nancy? No, okay. You probably know all of this already. Okay. So again, all of this information is really just for your background. We wanted to be able to provide some sort of starting point for everybody, just some information. So you kind of have like a jumping off point, right? But I'm going to bring us back to our next agenda item, which is the discussion of potential subcommittee areas. So I'm pulling up, sorry you guys, I have so many tabs and my screen moves around. Let me close this. Here, okay. So again, this was a kind of like a summary list, high level of topic and interest areas that committee members have identified in their application. This is not, a lot of people went into further detail, and I didn't want to go down to that level because I didn't think this, I thought that would be overwhelming, to be honest. But you can definitely edit this. This is your document to take over. But I wanted to just kind of see, if the committee decides that they want to hone in and focus their work using subcommittees, maybe this could be sort of the foundation of deciding which topic areas those subcommittees will hit or cover. And if you wanted to do a different structure, that's totally okay too. But I wanted to just see if we could get you off a little bit further. And I wanted to call out this line here on the bottom, and hopefully we can discuss this a little bit today, or you can discuss it also the next time too. But if folks attended special town meeting a couple of weeks ago, you might remember that there was an article in the warrant to rename Columbus Day Indigenous Peoples Day. And what came through that discussion at special town meeting was that they wanted to see if the DEI committee would take on this research of the history behind it, whether or not and just kind of, I guess, see what the recommendation would be to the town in terms of adopting Indigenous Peoples Day. So the select board and the school committee, I think, have been very vocal about the DEI committee forming your own charge, like figuring out your path, figuring out where you think and our town needs to focus. And if Indigenous Peoples Day is something you wanted to take on, we obviously very much encourage it because that's what the town wants or hopes that the DEI committee will do. But if you don't feel like this is something you want to pick up, then it's going to come back to the select board and school committee, and then we'll figure out where to go from there. But we definitely wanted to put this in front of you, give you some time as a committee to noodle on it and make the decision about whether or not this is something you'd like to pick up for the town. Omar?
Yeah, to that note, being part of the town and school safety task force, the DEI committee formation was part of our conversations because the task force would like to engage and interface with the DEI, so that will probably come up again. Just like you mentioned, the Indigenous Peoples Day, that might be something that is coming the DEI way. And the reason is that, to provide some context, that there are several issues that are safety related, mental health related, that have to do with equity and inclusion and diversity. And for that reason, the task force would be happy to interface with the committee now that it's formed. But I'm saying this on a note, not officially. This is probably coming officially, but I wanted to mention it along with the other stuff.
Okay. Does anyone have anything that they want to share now or today about any of these topics that jump out at you, or Indigenous Peoples Day? These are all things that would continue on to next meeting as well.
Yeah, just one real quick observation. I'll be quick related to Indigenous Peoples Day. I'm not sure if that makes sense for us or not, only because we haven't had a chance to sort of unpack our charge or our mission. But I do think it could be an opportunity for us to help sort of figure that out, if you will. Because I do think that it carries with it sort of elements of what we've all been dealing with lately and over the past several months with the horrible murders that have taken place across the country. That sensitivities now, I think, we need to be really, really aware of them. So I think it could pose a good opportunity. I think we just need to think about what we want to tackle. And so I think it's I think it's a really important question and something to be taken seriously.
So, Anita, is there when does the select board or the town committee wants to know if DEI committee can take over that or not?
You know, we didn't actually talk about a date for when it needs to come back, but I feel like whenever my first gut thought behind that is whenever the DEI committee decides where they want to focus their energy, like which subcommittees, if you do subcommittees, or you know, from there, I hope you could decide whether or not you want to pick up Indigenous Peoples Day. But I don't think there's a particular time parameter around it. It's just whenever you figure out where you'd like to focus your energy.
Okay.
Initially.
I have a quick question just to go back a little for Omar.
Mm-hmm.
I know you mentioned a task force. I'm not quite clear what task force you are referring to. If you could just speak just very quickly about what task force that was.
Sure, unless somebody like Jody or Anita would like to take that question, but otherwise I can. So yeah, Jody.
I'm happy to just explain that a little bit. A little over 2 years ago, the Board of Selectmen and the school committee formed a town and school safety task force. It was actually formed after Parkland when they had the incident with the shooting in that school. And I think at town meeting, some of our residents expressed concern with what we were doing to keep our students and staff in the schools safe. So that was kind of the impetus for starting that. And when we started working on the task force, we decided that there were two problems that we really needed to look at. One was facility and security, kind of physical security and operational processes, but the other was mental health, because obviously people who came into schools and were shooting had mental health issues. So we broke into two kind of study areas, and I could go on all night about it, and I won't. But that was really our focus. We've done a lot of the physical security work. We're closing in at the end of the mental health piece, and that we did add new members, 5 new members. Omar is one of them. So we're trying to acclimate those people into what we've done and then present to the community. So I think what Omar was saying is there may be an opportunity for this group and that group to meet at some point or have some connectivity.
Thank you. Thank you for clarifying that.
I know that Jenny has her hand raised, yeah.
All right. I just want to throw out there that I can't think of a good reason for us not to take on Indigenous Peoples Day. I think that fully falls under our charge. I think that, there needs to be a recognition that Westford is currently situated on land that, was once occupied by Nipmuc tribe and the Wabanaki Confederacy, particularly the Pennacook tribe, and kind of that history that's absent from our Westford History Museum, in addition to the really important Black history and how there's just mention of one slave who had been converted who may be buried near a wall somewhere. So I think that Indigenous Peoples Day is just the tip of the iceberg of us as a community really trying to understand our positionality with all of these different points in history that are not represented and have subsequently led to only some people feeling that they belong in this town.
Anyone else? Oh, Madonna. Oops, you're on mute, Madonna.
No.
Oh, you went back to Madonna, we can't hear you again. Sorry. It goes so fast. There. It's like you unmute for like a half a second and then you go back to mute.
Single click.
Let me try to unmute.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks.
And the when I look at the list that you had provided, I see that there are things on the bottom that are under the schools only, which I think apply to this rest of the town as well, as far as diversity in the boards that we have. And I think that that's something that we need to look at town-wide, not just in the school departments. And I think there are a number of things in both areas that blend from one to the other. And I'm not sure that we need to keep it separated quite that much as far as looking at things, because I think some of them apply in both areas.
Great. So I'm going to move on to our next agenda item, if that's okay with everyone. And that's basically trying to figure out the structure of our meetings. And I'm thinking maybe at the next meeting we could talk about officers, what the appropriate structure should be for this group, what everyone wants to do, and then hone in on those focus areas if you want to move forward with subcommittees. And then we'll probably end a little bit early, depending on how this goes. But what do people think about meeting frequency? And Ming Chen, I don't know if this is a good time to use a poll, actually, since you kind of tested us out earlier.
Okay, so I can create a poll.
Okay. Does someone want to throw out an idea?
So I was just thinking it might depend a little bit on if we have any timelines or not, because if we have a timeline in terms of there's a certain date by which we need to at least have the initial, whatever it is the town is looking for, then we might be in a better position to decide how many times we need to meet, whether once a month is adequate, whether it is twice a month. So I'm not very sure if we can set a regular meeting without knowing what kind of timeline we're looking, if we are looking at a timeline in the first place.
The other consideration could be that we, at first, we meet once a month, but as committees start doing their work, it might not be necessary for the full group to meet more than, what, say,
right.
once a quarter. But
I think that's the next item Anita can cover about subcommittee. I'll create a poll. So weekly, bi-weekly, and monthly. Is that the answers, choices you guys want?
But I think Nancy wanted to ask or make a comment too before we do the poll.
I'm just absolutely the opposite of Joe. I think maybe we should meet in 2 weeks, but I also wonder if we should take this list of identified interests and all of us rank them. And that way, when we come back in 2 weeks, we'd know where each individual's specifics lie. And we could then maybe come into some subcommittees from that, rather than try and break this 22 group into without doing something like that, unless we have Ming's little test there that we could poll.
I think that's I don't know what other people think, but I think that's a good idea. And maybe taking some time to just take a look at the list first, right? Because we really just posted it, or like we shared it today. And I wasn't at least anticipating that a lot of decisions would be made today. It's more of when's our next meeting? So then the committee can figure out what they want to do and the frequency going after that, and how you want to meet, structured, full group subcommittees and stuff like that. Does that sound okay with people? Then I guess agreed.
Anita, I think that's a good point Nancy brought up. That's what I was thinking of saying. How do we get everybody to vote on these, or prioritize what's their, or do a survey so that we can narrow it down to the subcommittees? Because I don't think with the number of people we have, we can do everything at the same time. We'll have to break it up in, several months. So doing what is important first and having subcommittees for that would make more sense. So I'm not sure if somebody can help doing that in running a survey and getting the choices from everybody. I don't know how you want to go about it, Anita.
Well, what we could do is, I think, put together like a Google survey or Google form or something like that. And then in the course of the next couple of weeks, or whenever before we meet again, have everyone go in and rank or whatever, prioritize what areas you'd like to focus on, assuming that you feel like this list is comprehensive and appropriate. We can do that, and then the committee can take a look at and make decisions from there.
Yeah, we could always leave space in that form to add other priorities if they don't find it in the list. So
right, this is a good place to start and build from.
Right.
And a related thought that I had is, let's say we're all working on our thoughts, looking at the list. Is there some kind of bulletin board or chat group that we can all put our thoughts in, where everyone can see and people can kind of respond and talk back and forth as a group, as we're really trying to organize?
I think we have to be careful about, like, even on the chat room, it's open meeting law governs.
And that's kind of why I brought it up too, because I know that it's a fine line between whether we're meeting or not.
So and then we cannot actually reply email to everybody if we are talking about official business. We cannot do all those things. We have to actually talk in public.
Yeah.
Okay.
Another option is to have a quick discuss in the beginning of next meeting, to everybody together to go over the list, to merge, define the areas we should be interested into based on that list. So because this list was originally just put together from everyone's idea, right? So should we, besides the poll, maybe we could, just from the beginning, just discuss, to define clearly the areas we need to focus on. Then we decide the different subcommittees and everything else. It looks like too many topics out there, so I believe we can, categorize them. Group them together instead of like a 20 different list. That's a 20 different subcommittee is hard to manage.
Yeah, you could also think about, like phased work, right? Or if like this is what you're working on initially, and then like the next group, or like there's different ways if you wanted to try and reach everything on here, but that makes sense. Okay, Omar.
Regarding the open meeting law, do the subcommittees, are the subcommittees their own official bodies with their own quorum and subject to the open meeting law, or do they count against the committee's quorum? So if there is a subcommittee with more than 12 people, they have to announce it beforehand, and so on and so forth, or if they have their own 7 people quorum.
Sorry, could you say that again?
Right. Yeah, that's a good question. I see Jody's hand up, so I'm gonna ask for help on that question for Jody.
So, the open meeting law is very complicated. I'm on the Economic Development Committee, and I remember several years ago we wanted to form little work groups, and we were told that those work groups were also, meetings of government bodies. So I think we've got to figure out what you want to do, and then I can get clarification from council on whether we can do that without posting too. So it is a fine line, but I think this is a very important committee, and we obviously want to be transparent. So I think when you figure out how you want to break it down, then we can get clarification from council on whether those also have to be posted. And I'm not sure if you said this, Anita, but all meetings have to be posted 48 hours in advance with an agenda, and weekends don't count, and minutes need to be taken and submitted for each meeting. So it is important to understand there's a lot of kind of rigmarole that we have to do for your meetings too. And the other thing I would just mention is, we have, I think, 80 committees in town and task force. What works well for a lot of them is to pick a day of the week that is your regular meeting day, whether you meet every other week or once a month, and just stay on that schedule. That way everybody knows and can book themselves into that meeting. That's a lot easier than trying to pick a date for every meeting. So I would suggest, as you decide that, you look at whether it's twice a month or once a month, and try to do the same date and time if possible. So.
Okay.
Can we break into groups while we're having a large meeting, and then it still be part of so we could have breakouts? That would be another way of doing it, and then we could all get back together again.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. Like, I know Zoom can do like Zoom breakouts. Are you thinking like that, Scott?
Yes, yeah, we do that at church, and we have Zoom breakouts during coffee hour or whatever you want to call it, and we break into small groups of 6 or 8, and then we come back together all as a full group. So,
so the whole
Eric, is that like? Oh, sorry.
Excuse me. The whole purpose of the open meeting law is so that government is conducting our business in the open. So,
transparent.
Exactly. Yeah. So you can break into groups, but those also need to be accessible to anybody that wants to pay attention and listen to what you're doing. So as long as, I know we're all virtual now and that needs to continue, but the public has to be able to get into those groups too and know what you're up to. So it's complex.
Right.
Would one person have to be able to get into all the groups? So
if they wanted to,
Any public
yes,
should be able to get into any place if we are talking about official business.
So
exactly.
if we have 4 groups, do they have, and obviously one person can only be in one group at a time. Does that still count as transparent?
Well, the public has to have access to those meetings and that group. So government is very different than church and private sector.
Yes.
Right.
So it's all about transparency. And so whatever you're doing, the public has to have access to that.
Isn't it also the only group that can really be separate is if you go into executive for certain,
session,
right, for certain reasons, right?
Exactly. There's a body of law and a body of those rules that talk about when groups can go into executive session and what those exceptions are. And if you don't meet something on that list, the public has to be able to get to it. It doesn't really mean that the public has to be there. Sometimes it can be an empty room, essentially, but there must be a mechanism that anyone in the public who's interested can click on something, walk somewhere, and so forth, and participate if they so choose. That's the paradigm that we're working with.
And there'd need to be minutes from all of the breakouts.
Yes, everything's got to be documented.
I mean, if the breakouts are based on subcommittees, that each subcommittee could have a number that could be posted to public, right?
Essentially, yes. Someone has to function as the secretary. Someone has to function as the person who is getting the information out to the public, making it available so that people can scrutinize and see what occurred.
Yeah. So for example, even if like this committee, and then when we actually establish subcommittees for this committee, and then every meeting of the subcommittee has to be posted and then be public accessible.
Yeah, I mean, it could be like we have like 1.5 hour meeting, and then the last half an hour is for subcommittees, and each subcommittee has a number and then password, and then that can be posted in public, and that same number can stay, after the subcommittees are established. Like could be school, school related matters, or the town membership, like if we have, or public health related, we have like subcommittees. I think it could be stable that we don't create a lot of work for volunteers. Yeah.
I think it's important that the subcommittees, the meetings don't overlap, so that way people are able to fully hear what saying during those.
Oh yeah, that's a question. Like whether we have someone who wants to sit at all 4 committees or more than one at least.
Question for Judy. So all these public meetings open for public, do they have to access real time, or they just access that recordings?
Well, I know that our meeting is being recorded right now, but it's not, as far as I know, not live.
We have public we have public join. We have at least 3 to 4 public join the meeting.
Yeah. Yes, they have to have real-time access. And, virtual meetings were not allowed prior to COVID. This is just because of the pandemic. Public meetings had to be in a space that the public could get to, accessible and so on. So this is just because of COVID. But yes, they need access real time so they can ask questions, listen, know what you're up to, so to speak.
Yes.
Okay. So which means for the pandemic, for this period of time, we can record our meetings. And no, we cannot. We still have to publish our links.
The meeting is being recorded, but in the meantime, we have to allow the public to participate in the meeting virtually at the same time. We cannot just tell the public you watch the recording. They have to actually to be able to get onto the meeting and ask questions.
So technically divide into subgroup from the main meeting, that's is not practical. So, right?
I just had a quick clarification question. So the simultaneous part of it that somebody just brought up, I'm not, does that actually apply? So are you saying that in the town, there are never two committees meeting at the same time?
There are.
So in which case, I do not believe that it's necessary to say that 4 subcommittees cannot meet because one individual cannot attend 4 subcommittee meetings, a member of the public, that is.
On the public meeting front, it's not about whether any one individual can actually see, go to 4 meetings. The question is, every meeting's got to have a link so that anyone who's.
I'm not disputing that. I get that. I'm just saying, yes, we will absolutely provide a separate link or figure out some method of doing it. All I'm trying to clarify is that we are not restricted by the fact that 4 subcommittees or 6 subcommittees are meeting at the same exact time. That is not a restriction, or that is not something that stops us from doing it.
I certainly think you're right about that.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify that because I know somebody just said that, and that does each person have to have access to all of it? And that is not necessarily true. So.
Well, I was not suggesting that that it necessarily has to. I just thought, in the interest of transparency and to people who want to be able to hear from all the different subcommittees and want to learn more, that I think it would be perfect for the public.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Now I understand. Okay. All right.
Well,
yeah.
So maybe the first working group should follow up and figure out the technicalities of the subcommittees and make sure that we know exactly what we are supposed to do, what we can do, and what we cannot do, and then present it to the committee at the next meeting.
Yeah, and I'm gonna send around that link for the live training for open meeting law. So people can sign up for the next one or the one after that. And I'm really happy to see, as I flip through everyone's cameras, that people are still nodding and not scared off by open meeting law. And we think of the people who've been in town for many years and have been on a lot of committees.
After all, Anita, we're all about inclusion, right? So that's why we're here.
Exactly.
That's right. But should we go ahead and pick our next meeting right now while we have everybody?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Next Wednesday.
Can it be 1 week from today?
1 week from today
is Veterans Day.
Yeah, it's off.
I couldn't make it that day.
Veterans Day is a public holiday.
Right.
I'm going to do the 18th. 2 weeks.
Yeah, 2 weeks. I think 2 weeks is
I like the idea of 2 weeks. Yeah, the 18th looks fine.
Okay.
Yeah. 2 weeks is good.
Yeah.
I know we have folks who might not be available on Wednesdays, and this was like some kind of special Wednesday that everyone was available. But I think it'd be great to kind of figure out too, if folks are not able to make it to a meeting, how to make sure we still include their input and their voices in this as well. I don't have an answer for that, but I just wanted to kind of put that out there for the committee to consider.
And they can watch the recordings, right? If someone has to miss the meeting, and they can watch it and still provide comments.
And still be up to date.
Yeah. Or I wonder if I'm kind of just thinking out loud and rambling, if it comes down to their participation in the subcommittee that might not be on a Wednesday or something like that. But I just want to make sure we don't lose any of our members when we're thinking about like our meetings and stuff like that.
So I have a quick question about that. So let's just, for hypothetically, if a member was not being able to attend a subcommittee meeting, is it allowed or acceptable for that person to maybe share their contribution or their whatever it is, like, whatever they were planning to say at the meeting or contribute at the meeting? Is that allowed in the first place? For them to share that with the other members of the subcommittee, to say, all right, here is what I was planning to, bring up at the meeting. And so if you guys are talking about it, this is my contribution to it. Is that even allowed, is what my question is.
You mean through somebody?
With one member or a couple member, but not every member, because then you hit a quorum.
Yeah, I think that we've read letters or I think that I've been in meetings where people read letters on behalf of someone else, as long as that letter only goes to one person, like the chair, for example, right? And then you read it and to kind of share it during the meeting. But I know we don't want to go down too far. Jody has her hand up.
What I was going to say is, you know, you have packets for the meeting. So certainly anyone who had information they wanted to share, that could be uploaded to the packet. So all of you would have it. What you don't want to do is deliberate. So if one of you uploads a document, you don't want others weighing in outside of the meeting on it, but you certainly can upload into the packet anything you want to share.
Okay.
Okay, so I know someone threw out the suggestion of 2 weeks from now, same time slot. We need at least 12 people to be available.
Yeah, it works for me.
Yeah,
works for me.
Yes.
Okay. 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 Ming Chen, would you be able to help set up that meeting stuff? The Zoom link
the next
again?
meeting?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be the same Zoom link.
Okay. Same like meeting ID and everything?
Yeah, but I'll send it to you before
Okay.
you set up the package.
Okay. And so I just want to make sure that what our next steps were. So in addition to getting out a meeting invite, we're also going to put together, or like I can help do this until we figure out our officers, like a Google form or something, so to help people prioritize, right, with some open comment boxes in case there was something else you want to pick. Is that right? Okay. And then we'll send around the survey results closer to the meeting time. But I guess in the meantime, it'd be great if committee members would take a look at all the other meeting packet materials that we uploaded today, just to digest some of that, so we can have like a discussion and stuff next time too. And then if people feel ready to vote on officers, or kind of however you want that structure to be, if it's one chair, co-chairs, I think we definitely need at least one chair and at least one secretary, right? Do we need other officers, Jody?
Usually boards or committees pick a chair, vice chair, and clerk or secretary, or you can rotate the secretary if people get tired of taking minutes too, but it's nice to have a vice chair or a co-chair.
Yeah, especially with the size of the group.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So I think that's everything that we wanted to cover. Ming Chen, was there anything that you wanted to bring up or that we missed?
No, I think you did good.
And thanks, Jody, for joining us. I don't think, we're not always going to have Jody's time during our meeting, so we're really lucky that we had her. Thank you for answering so many of our questions. But she's always going to be available to us, I know, if we need any help, if we have any questions. And we definitely want to loop her into, before we reach out to anybody, right? In terms of town staff, I think we should really make sure we're deliberate and going through Jody for that, at least on the town side. And I'm sure Ming Chen and the same would apply for, anything on the school side. But if there are no other questions, I think we're going to, we'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Great. Get a second?
Second.
Great. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Have a good night, everyone.
Thank
you.
you.
Night, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Night. Have a good night.
Nice meeting
Good
you
night.
all.
Good meeting, everybody.
Okay.
Yeah.
Meeting.
Bye.
Bye.